Survivor Series, the John Deacon of the Big Four pay-per-views. And if you're thinking, who? That makes me sad, but also exactly. I mean, it's not surprising that the importance of Survivor Series became much diminished by the time we got to the 2010s. Back in the day, it was one of only 2 wrestling pay-per-views a year, then one of 3, then one of 4. When the alternative is the odd Saturday night's main event or a bunch of squash matches on Superstars, it's little wonder fans were hyped to see their favourites team up in weird combination tag team wars of attrition. But by the time we got to 2017 and the WWE Network was releasing somehow 24 special broadcasts a year, seriously, I counted. There's a clip of Homer being force-fed the donuts. Then Survivor Series doesn't have any goddamn point beyond legacy branding. Still, Survivor Series would survive the 2010s, and at the end of the month, WWE will be airing their 39th One of the Bastards. Over the years, they've done all they could to keep the show fresh. They had the Ultimate Survivor match in 1990, the One Night Tournament in 98, the Elimination Chamber in 02. I'm Adam from BlampCo Incorporated, and these are my 10 favorite moments in Survivor Series history. And by the way, if you want to see my predictions and what just happened for this year's Survivor Series, those will be uploaded to my Patreon, patreon.com/BlampCo, where you can find predictions and reviews for every single wrestling show that WWE has done this year. And also, some AEW was there as well, because why not? Number 10, behold a pale hearse, Survivor Series 1990. It's a shame that the debuting at Survivor Series trope isn't really a thing anymore. Some of the all-time greats have made their first appearances on WWE screens in November time. The Rock in 1996, Kurt Angle in 1999, Scott Steiner in 2002, The Shield in 2012, Sting in 2014, but perhaps the most important, at Survivor Series 1990, the man who would go on to become perhaps the signature character in all of sports entertainment and prove that some wrestlers with a job gimmicks can get over. That's right, the Gobbledygooker. The Gooker, or the Dead Man, or the Phenom, as he'd come to be known, was an instant hit with fans, winning them over with his incredible physical presence and the wry charm of having a wrestler moonlighting as a turkey. For the next 30 years, the Gobbledygooker would have one of the more prolific wrestling careers, winning the WWE Championship 4 times, the World Heavyweight Championship 3 times, and indeed in 2015 and 2020, the Survivor Series events were both dedicated to celebrating milestones in Gooker Red's storied career and his carefully crafted legacy that will never, like his famous catchphrase, regs in peace. This entry was written by our sponsor, ChatGPT. Number 9, Return-a-Palooza, Survivor Series 2023. A hot debut is one thing and a fun thing to look back on with hindsight, but very rarely does someone surprise stroll into the company at their full powers during their debut, making for a much better moment, and for one of Adam's favorite things about wrestling, it's the surprise return pop. A bloody love a surprise return. Honestly, I prefer it to the actual wrestling. And Survivor Series 2023 featured not one, but 1.5 surprise returns. So even though Randy Orton had been gone for over a year with a back injury, WWE decided to try and have their cake and suplex it too by announcing that Orton would be on Cody's team in advance to bump the Survivor Series 2023 buy rate. But all seemed fine. A cromulent end to a cromulent show. And then I leapt out of my goddamn chair. Number 8, Sami Uso, Survivor Series 2022. Fuck off the Bible. Sami Uso is the greatest story ever told. We can no longer say the Bloodline because they keep releasing mandatory DLC for the story, and it will do as long as there are members of the Anoa'i family, and they won't stop making them. I don't know what to tell you. Rikishi fucks. Instead, that beautiful period from August 2022 to WrestleMania 2023, that will go down in history as the Sami Uso saga, and it's the first great bit of booking of the Triple H era. Sami Zayn was a down-on-his-luck, dorky heel when he saw a chance for relevance and tried to join the Bloodline, which is doubly funny because not only is he not Samoan, but the Bloodline are actually directly blood-related to each other. So initially, the joke was one of these things is not like the other, and it could have ended there, yet somehow it continued and became sincere. Sammy's beautiful little sad eyes won us over, and it became a slowly unfolding tale of what would happen if a puppy joined the mafia, and they played it straight, with everyone's slow acceptance of lovable Sami Zayn into the family being genuinely fucking heartwarming. At Survivor Series 2022, he was the beating heart of this show, torn between a new family and his old best friend, making his choice, logging the next chapter of the story with a great War Games match with a proper capital S storyline attached. Jey Uso, the lone holdout against Sami Zayn, finally accepting and hugging him to a huge pop. I'm getting Usi just thinking about it. Number 7, T-shirt warfare being great for the first and only time, Survivor Series 2016. The traditional 5-on-5 elimination matches, it's a lot of fun, lots of pinfall, some fun dynamics, but most of the time it's hurt by, what's the word? Oh yes, not fucking mattering at all. After all, a Survivor Series elimination match without stakes is just a regular match that won't die. And let's be clear, brand warfare within the same company doesn't matter. If you at any point cared who won the contest to determine which TV show booked by the same crazy old fuck had the better t-shirt, then I beg you not to vote. Against that damning backdrop, color me astonished that Survivor Series 2016 men's match is one of the best goddamn matches of all time. Some strange alchemy happened on this day. Maybe it's because the main event between Oldberg and a big stupid ham was being booked to go 90 seconds, but this match got all those extra minutes, clocking in at a staggering 52 minutes without entrances, with nothing on the line. All laws of nature say I should hate that, but it's good the whole time. I don't know what more to say. It's full of mini stories, callbacks, character work, Ellsworth being Braun's Achilles heel, the Shield reuniting across battle lines, AJ and Ambrose deepening their feud, KO and Jericho's friendship, Orton and Wyatt's friendship, Shane being killed in front of its kids. These are all great things. No one felt shortchanged, and the epic runtime just made the top of the card in 2016, in the men's division at least, look like the fucking dog's bollocks. Number 6, Adam's love of tournaments is born, Survivor Series 1998. Vince Russo's impact on the industry can best be described as boo! Didn't expect that, did you? Anyway, here's some of the worst wrestling you've ever seen. And honestly, 1998 Survivor Series is no exception. The Deadly Games tournament to crown a new WWF champion. It dominates the whole show. This card has a horrifying 14 matches. Only 2 of them aren't to do with the tournament, and both of those matches count for less than 15 minutes of in-ring action together. The rest of the show is a nightmare of countouts, DQs, run-ins, screw jobs, but goddamn it if the misshapen parts didn't come together to form a satisfying whole. It works because instead of just a bunch of small stories not quite paying off individually, it's one long story that's paying off throughout the entire night. The corporation appeared to be rigging the whole tournament in favor of Mankind, but actually the switcheroo was they'd been rigging it for The Rock the entire time, and it made sense. Normally, pro wrestling is about tying together fleeting moments to build a great match, but on this night, and a truly worthy bit of narrative ambition, it was about tying together fleeting matches to build a great show. So rarely did WWE even attempt to make pay-per-view wide storylines, never mind pull it off, but this is a damn beautiful bit of wrestling nonsense right here, and Vince Russo's greatest work. And even a stopped clock from New York is right once a career. Number 5, Shawn goddamn Michaels, Survivor Series 2003. A Bischoff is more than a general manager, it's a delicious biscuit. Eric Bischoff and Steve Austin didn't get along as co-Raw general managers. Eric was a snooty Hollywood elite and Steve brushed his teeth with pigs. At Survivor Series 03, they had a 5-on-5 match. If Team Austin won, the Rattlesnake could get back to raising as much hell as he wanted, which was exactly 8 hells. But if Steven lost, then he would be fired as co-GM and his career would effectively be over, leaving Eric to Colgate his way to hitherto unforeseen levels of corruption. Team Austin versus Team Bischoff is a crowd work masterpiece, with each elimination playing with the odds, shifting the levels of dominance, hope being lost, regained, lost again. And while all of that is happening, Shawn Michaels is doing what he does best, which is his best. Perfectly paced, full of heart, especially when it gets down to HBK on his own, full of blood, Jesus Christ, Shawn, and it's still one of my favorite eliminations in any Survivor Series match. Shawn, jelly-legged, cracking Christian, flops on top of him for a barely conscious 1, 2, 3. It's perfect. Highest of drama and the absolute highest of stakes. Well, almost the highest of stakes. Number 4, Ziggly Tough, Survivor Series 2014. In the last match, there was something on the line. In this match, the pitmaster got vertigo because the stakes were so high. A little break there for some applause. Team Cena versus Team Authority is a beauty of a Survivor Series match. One of those many times where WWE bagged themselves into something good. In this case, dragging out the Authority storyline for so long that we were anxious for it to end, and then it did. Kinda. But on this night, it actually felt like we all won. We're all the Authority. And leading to that grand explosion of joy was 40 minutes of betrayals, high drama, villainy, a comeback story for the ages in the form of wrestling's slinkiest man bumping and selling his way through impossible odds, and the debut of some mime. Sure, in reality, it was a bunch of rich people fighting to see if some slightly richer people got to keep their jobs. But after months and months of Stephanie McMahon promos gumming up Raw's gears, and excuse me for celebrating a happy ending for the ever so slightly less rich people. It's like Succession, and now I really want to see Jeremy Strong play John Cena. You can't see me, Dad. For a time, Dolph Ziggler was my guy, and sure, that time would pass after his character stopped developing after 2016. But for this night, my faith in him and in wrestling's ability to make me feel joy after despair, it was truly rewarded. The highest of drama and the 100% very tip-top absolute highest of stakes. Well, almost a 100% very tip-top absolute highest of stakes. Number 3, Death to the Alliance, Survivor Series 2001. You know that thing I said a while back about, hey, you shouldn't care about brand warfare if they're both owned by the same company? Well, for this entry, forget that bit and fuck off. Fun fact, if they had waited a bit, started the WCW Invasion storyline after Survivor Series 2001 and had it run till, say, WrestleMania 18, the WCW Invaders could have been Ric Flair, the NWO, DDP, and Booker T. You know, stars. Oh well, never mind. Instead, WWE tried to soft launch WCW as a brand extension, got cold feet, ran an invasion angle instead, realized, whoopsie, Booker T is the only famous one that we didn't make stalk The Undertaker's wife, dovetailed ECW in there, made ECW Stephanie McMahon's company, and booked months of endless run-ins, title changes, and also diluted the alliance with turncoat WWE guys until it all blew off in a winner-takes-all match at Survivor Series 2001, which came down to WCW versus WWF as The Rock versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. That doesn't make a huge amount of sense, but it's also The Rock versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. This match fucking ruled, lads. Like, this is a favorite thing. I was an early teen, relatively fresh fan to WWE. I'd only been watching wrestling for about a year, so I cared about these stakes so much. It was real to me. I don't know what to tell you. And as this match went on, and JR and Paul Heyman grew in their hatred of each other as things started to seem hopeless as it came down to The Rock versus Stone Cold, which again doesn't make sense, with the match being decided by Kurt Angle, who had been in the alliance despite never having worked a day for WCW in his fucking life. Look, the point is, it doesn't have to be good wrestling to be great wrestling. Sometimes, to be great wrestling, it just has to be a lot. And this was the most. This is my favorite Survivor Series elimination match because, well, just look at it. Number 2, Clear Eyes, Brown Tights, Can't Lose, Survivor Series 2002. WWE isn't an industry leader in many things, but it does make the best wrestling stipulations in the world. Money in the Bank, the Royal Rumble, Hell in a Cell, and best of all, the Elimination Chamber. What if you took a Hell in a Cell match, added Survivor Series style eliminations and the escalation of tension that those eliminations provided, add Royal Rumble timed entries to make it easier to book, filled the cage with a bunch of things to jump off from, and those things could also be used to smash wrestlers to bits through, and only ever have the match be for something genuinely important. My dad is a fucking genius to come up with that. Actually, credit where it's due, this one is a Triple H creation, but for as bad as big trips would be for the business in the Ruthless Aggression era, this night, this was a beautiful thing this man did. Triple H was the center of the whole thing, the Kevin Bacon at the heart of the tangled web of being a cock Herbert to all his friends. In 2002, he'd fucked over Kane, RVD, Jericho, Booker T in his pursuit of the World Heavyweight title and got trapped in a big bad box with all of them, alongside the man he'd screwed over the worst, his former best friend, Shawn Michaels. Not just any Shawn Michaels, worst ever Shawn Michaels with a goddamn bob and shit coloured tights. Despite that, this is a wonderful match, a truly confident and dazzling debut of one of the company's best ever gimmicks, and punctuated by Shawn winning the only world title of his second run with the company, and he did it all in brown unfinished gear. Confetti indeed. And number 1, the American fucking Dragon, Survivor Series 2018. Daniel Bryan, or Bryan Danielson as he's now known, is probably the best wrestler breathing. Not because he's got the best technical ability, which he does, or hits the hardest, which he almost does. It's because he is the best at making you care. He just sees the wrestling matrix. He knows why people care. He knows how to make them care, when to stop, when to sell, how to sell, where the cameras are, and he's blessed with being the perfect size to always convince as the underdog. And also, yeah, he's the best technical wrestler in the world. So he can always convince as someone who only needs 3 seconds to ruin everything you've built. His match against Brock at Survivor Series 2018 is the prototypical David versus Goliath story, but with extra context, all of which helps the match. Bryan had to retire due to neck injuries, and now here's the guy who drops people on their head and neck for a living. Also, it's Brock. He's one of the best to ever do it, but you could never count out the possibility that he might just not give a shit that night. He might pull rank and churn out a shit paint-by-numbers Suplex City bit of garbage. As such, the first half of this whole match is a goddamn nightmare, watching Brock dropping Bryan on his neck over and over as Bryan sells like death. You let yourself believe that either Daniel Bryan is hurt, or that crazy Vince McMahon will book the hardest fucking ship to ever shill Jimmy Johns to just squash Daniel Bryan because Vince is an asshole. It's one thing to have the balls to jump through a flaming table. It's a whole other thing to risk being boring for a greater payoff. And trust me, when the payoff comes, when the match finally switches up, it's like nothing else I've ever seen. Pro wrestling is all about creating a context whereby an audience is emotionally desperate for an outcome. In a way, WWE had been putting up the context for this match for years in terms of character work, Bryan's place within the company, Brock's waning popularity, the way that WWE treated Brock's opponents, and Bryan having to retire and come back before getting the match he should have got at WrestleMania 31 in the first fucking place. The result is a match that reminds me that even in its worst timeline, you can never count out professional wrestling for delivering fucking magic. Those are my favorite Survivor Series moments of all time. What are yours? Let me know in the comments. Head on over to my Patreon if you want to see the coverage of this year's Survivor Series. I'm Adam from BlampCo Incorporated, and until next time, get back to work.